Beneath the soft morning light streaming through the windows of Pacific Horizon High School, a quiet young girl named Imani Carter sat unnoticed by most. Reserved and reflective, Imani rarely spoke in class, but behind her calm eyes was a mind quietly unraveling the mysteries of chemistry. She wasn't just another student in the back row. She was solving complex reactions no one knew she understood. What secret brilliance hides behind those watchful eyes? And could it be the key to a world far greater than anyone ever expected? Let's dive into this story. But before we begin, leave me a comment telling me where you're watching from. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to follow for more. At Pacific Horizon High School in San Diego, California, a quiet young black girl named Imani Carter kept mostly to herself. She was soft-spoken, thoughtful, and often chose the same seat by the window, where the morning sun filtered gently into the room, casting a warm glow across her desk. While she rarely joined in the class chatter, every glance, every stroke of her pen hinted at something deeper, a fierce, quiet passion for chemistry. From the very first day, both her teacher and classmates sensed something unique about Imani. She wasn't one to raise her hand or compete for attention. Instead, she listened, closely, intentionally. And when her gaze drifted out the window, it wasn't out of boredom. It was as if her mind was somewhere else, running through scientific ideas far beyond the day's lesson. And inside her well-worn notebook, not just assigned homework, but complex chemical equations, reaction diagrams, and detailed notes that showed a grasp of concepts far beyond the typical curriculum. Imani had a habit of writing everything down with precision, filling the margins of her pages with molecular sketches, reaction chains, and theories she explored on her own. Her deep curiosity and love for chemistry gave her a sense of purpose beyond the classroom. To her, every formula told a story about the building blocks of the universe, just waiting to be discovered by someone willing to look a little closer. She didn't speak often, but when she was called on, her voice carried a warmth and clarity that surprised everyone. She explained even the most complex reactions with ease, and there was something about the way she spoke, calm, passionate, certain, that made people want to listen. Imani's quiet brilliance, humility, and thoughtful presence made her more than just a smart student. She was someone worth paying attention to. For Imani, chemistry wasn't just a subject. It was a journey into the wonders of the world, a language of life itself. And even in silence, she knew every moment was a chance to unlock something powerful within herself. Mr. Delgado was a seasoned chemistry teacher, demanding, precise, and deeply passionate about helping his students connect with the wonder of science. Every morning he stepped into his classroom with purpose, ready to tackle the day's challenges head-on. But lately, something had begun to trouble him. One student in particular stood out, not because she struggled, but because she excelled. Imani Carter consistently earned top marks and showed clear natural ability, and yet she remained quiet, detached, almost distant. Her silence made him question whether she truly cared about the subject at all. In Mr. Delgado's chemistry class, most students wrestled with the fundamentals, but not Imani. She breezed through assignments, though her mind often seemed elsewhere, eyes drifting to the window, fingers tapping her pencil in thought. While others took notes or asked questions, Imani kept to herself, and that bothered him. He couldn't help but wonder, how could a student so gifted seem so emotionally removed from what was happening in front of her? Whenever the class took part in group discussions or quizzes, Imani excelled academically, but rarely contributed vocally. She never raised her hand. She didn't ask questions. And Mr. Delgado began to wonder, was she simply shy, or was she afraid? Did she worry about saying the wrong thing? Despite recognizing her extraordinary talent, he knew that true growth in science, or in life, required more than just correct answers. It required curiosity, communication, and confidence. He often told himself that if Imani could just break past that invisible wall, if she could find her voice and let others see what she carried inside, her brilliance could shine in ways even she hadn't imagined. His frustration wasn't with her performance. It was with the silence that masked something far greater. Mr. Delgado believed that every student deserved the chance to be seen, and for Imani, he made it his mission to help her find the courage to step forward and speak not just with knowledge, but with conviction. It was a calm, sunlit morning in the chemistry lab at Pacific Horizon High School. The early light filtered through the tall classroom windows, casting soft patterns across the floor as Mr. Delgado guided his students through that day's lesson. But then, without warning, he paused. His voice fell silent mid-sentence, and he slowly scanned the room, eyes sharp with intention. He was looking for someone to bring the lesson to life. His gaze stopped, then he pointed. "Imani," he said firmly, though not unkindly, "come up and solve this one." All eyes turned toward her. Imani Carter, 14 years old, quiet, reserved, the girl who sat by the window and rarely spoke. The room tensed. Whispers broke out like a ripple. Some were curious. Others skeptical. A few even smirked. Surely Mr. Delgado didn't expect her to tackle a reaction problem that was clearly well beyond the scope of the class. Imani could feel her heart pounding in her chest. Her palms were damp, her mind spinning. But she stood. Her movements were slow, measured. She took a deep breath and walked to the front, where the board already held a complex chemical equation. Multiple elements, multiple steps, the kind that usually appeared in higher-level science classes. For a moment, she stared at it, her expression unreadable. Then, with calm determination, she picked up a piece of chalk. She started with the basics, listing the reactants and products, counting atoms on each side. Her handwriting was steady. Symbols and coefficients appeared on the board like a well-practiced dance. Mr. Delgado stood nearby, arms crossed, watching every move. But he wasn't looking for mistakes. He was watching something unfold, something few had ever seen. And as Imani worked, the room grew quieter. The giggles stopped. Doubt turned into intrigue. As she moved through each step, Imani's focus deepened. She paused briefly to double-check her work, then, with a steady voice, explained her reasoning. Balancing atoms, applying core principles of chemical reactions, walking the class through every decision she made. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was clear, warm, and sure. And just like that, the silence was broken, not by whispers, but by applause. It started with a few claps, then swelled into a wave of cheers. Heads turned, eyes widened. Even the students who once shrugged her off were now leaning forward in awe. Mr. Delgado smiled, a deep, proud nod, confirming what he had long suspected. Imani wasn't just a quiet student with good grades. She was extraordinary, and at that moment, Imani felt something shift inside, a quiet confidence taking root. She had stood in the spotlight not by choice, but by challenge, and she had owned it. Whatever came next, she now knew. She was ready. When Imani finished writing the final step on the board, the room fell completely silent. For a few long seconds, it was as if the entire classroom had stopped breathing, stunned by what they had just witnessed. Then, suddenly, the room erupted into applause, loud, heartfelt, and full of admiration. That moment wasn't just about solving a chemistry problem. It was a moment of revelation for everyone watching, and especially for Imani herself. She stood there, her breathing steadying, her heart still pounding. But now there was light in her eyes. A quiet confidence had begun to bloom. As the room calmed, Imani turned back to the board and, with a voice that had once trembled, began walking the class through her solution. Her words were clear, measured, and filled with quiet passion. She didn't just list steps, she taught. She explained how atoms combined and why certain reactions happened. She spoke of molecular structure, chemical bonds, and chain reactions in a way that made the science come alive. Her explanation wasn't just informative, it was inspiring. Students who had once seen chemistry as dull or intimidating now leaned forward, captivated. They began asking questions, real, curious, eager questions. For the first time, the classroom wasn't just learning from a textbook. They were learning from one of their own, and it was Imani who had sparked that fire. Mr. Delgado stood nearby, arms crossed but smiling, deeply moved. He had always suspected there was something extraordinary behind Imani's quiet demeanor, but seeing it unfold like this was something else entirely. In that moment, he realized just how powerful it could be when a student is given the chance to truly be seen. As Imani placed the chalk back on the tray and looked around, her classmates met her gaze, not with disbelief, but with admiration and genuine respect. In just a few minutes, she had transformed how people saw her. No longer just the quiet girl by the window, she had become a leader, a voice, a source of inspiration. And in that unforgettable moment, a door opened not just for Imani's future, but for how everyone in that room would think about potential, passion, and the quiet power of being ready when your moment comes. As Imani set the chalk down, the classroom held its breath for a beat, then burst into thunderous applause. The clapping wasn't just polite praise, it was a resounding recognition of her talent. Imani, the quiet girl few had paid attention to, had just shown everyone what brilliance looked like when it finally stepped forward. Students who had once only glanced past her now looked on with admiration, their eyes filled with new respect for what she had just done. Mr. Delgado, wearing a rare and genuine smile, walked toward her and said warmly, "That was outstanding, Imani. You didn't just solve the problem, you showed us the thinking of a real scientist." His voice echoed in the still charged room, filling it with an energy that felt both proud and uplifting. Several classmates came up to Imani, offering quiet nods, kind smiles, and encouraging words, small gestures that meant everything. Imani felt something shift deep inside. For so long she had hidden behind silence, unsure if anyone would ever truly see her. But now her talent had been acknowledged, openly, publicly, and sincerely. She was proud, yes, and a little shy, but more than anything she felt seen, and not just by her teacher, but by her peers, people who now understood that her silence had never been emptiness, but depth. That behind her quiet eyes was a sharp mind and a boundless love for learning. Turning back to the class, Mr. Delgado addressed them again. "Today, Imani reminded us that talent doesn't always shout. Sometimes it listens, it observes, and when the moment is right, it speaks volumes." His words hung in the air, inviting everyone to rethink how they saw themselves and each other. Slowly, it changed the mood of the room. Students sat a little straighter, thought a little deeper, and perhaps began to look at one another with more appreciation. In that moment, Imani felt a quiet power rise within her. The recognition she had received opened more than just an opportunity. It opened her heart to the idea that her voice mattered, her ideas deserved to be heard, and her gifts could reach far beyond the pages of her notebook. And in the hopeful glances of her teacher and classmates, she saw something else, the beginning of a future she was finally ready to claim. After the moment at the board, the atmosphere in the classroom shifted dramatically. Imani, once quiet and reserved, was now the center of attention. Her peers no longer saw her as the girl who sat silently in the back. Instead, they greeted her with warm smiles, compliments, and curious questions about the chemical reactions she had just explained. The attention she received filled her with warmth, and little by little, confidence began to blossom inside her naturally. These changes weren't just apparent to her classmates. They were also noticed by Mr. Delgado. After class, he approached Imani with a gentle smile, his eyes filled with pride. "You've given us a new perspective on chemistry," he said. "Your talent deserves to be nurtured, and you have the potential to go far." His words felt like seeds planted in Imani's mind, helping her realize that this was only the beginning of her academic journey, one full of limitless possibilities. Encouraged by Monsieur Delgado's support and the positive feedback from her peers, Imani began to engage more in extracurricular activities related to chemistry. She joined the school's science clubs and regularly attended workshops and seminars. Presenting ideas to a group no longer felt like a daunting challenge. It became an opportunity to share her passion, learn from others, and develop her public speaking skills. Furthermore, Mr. Delgado introduced Imani to an advanced district-level chemistry program, where gifted students faced complex assignments and collaborated with like-minded peers from other schools. Initially, Imani felt apprehensive, worried that the added pressure might overwhelm her, but the confidence she had gained from her earlier success helped her overcome that fear. She soon realized that every new challenge was an opportunity to grow and prove herself. Throughout this transformation, Imani not only learned how to share her knowledge, but also began to open up, becoming more approachable to both her classmates and teachers. She realized that while silence had once been her shield, recognition and respect allowed her to step forward and truly shine. A new chapter had begun for Imani, a journey full of success, discovery, and the magic of science. Entering the district's advanced chemistry program was like stepping into an entirely new world for Imani. Each lesson, each lab experiment, opened doors to knowledge she had never imagined. Mr. Delgado had described the program as a rare opportunity, designed to unlock the potential of gifted students. And for Imani, it became the turning point she didn't know she was waiting for. At first, she was nervous, even intimidated. The problems were more complex, the experiments required greater precision, and the expectations were high. But as she met other students from different schools, students who, like her, were driven by curiosity and a deep love for science, those nerves began to fade. Classes in the program weren't just lectures. They were lively group discussions, hands-on labs and research projects that demanded creativity and collaboration. Imani found herself immersed in challenges that pushed her thinking and deepened her understanding. She worked alongside her peers to explore chemical reactions, investigate how compounds behaved, and conduct intricate experiments that brought the subject to life. What once seemed daunting now became energizing. She began to realize that every challenge was really an invitation to grow, to expand her knowledge, and prove to herself just how capable she was. This new environment didn't just sharpen her scientific mind. It gave her something more: confidence and connection. Imani started speaking up more, sharing her ideas during team discussions. As she engaged with mentors and classmates, the timidness she once carried began to fall away. She was no longer holding back. She was leaning in, growing stronger with each passing day. She saw firsthand the value of teamwork, open dialogue, and learning from others in pursuit of something greater. The advanced program also opened doors to science fairs, symposiums, and district competitions where Imani could present her unique ideas to wider audiences. The recognition she earned through these experiences didn't just boost her resume, it solidified her place among the district's most promising young scholars. More importantly, it strengthened her belief that even when faced with setbacks or uncertainty, every experience had the power to shape her path and bring her closer to her dream, becoming a brilliant, impactful scientist. In the weeks following her acceptance into the advanced chemistry program, Imani began to experience a transformation that reached far beyond academics. Little by little, she grew more confident, no longer hesitant to speak up or present her ideas to a group. What once felt intimidating now became an opportunity. Group projects, lab work, and lively discussions became her playground, a place where she could stretch her mind, express her creativity, and explore what she was truly capable of. She began sharing her insights freely, participating in conversations with a newfound ease. With each passing class, Imani came to understand that knowledge wasn't just about solving problems, it was also about inspiring others to see the world in new ways. Meanwhile, Mr. Delgado, once known for his no-nonsense, by-the-book approach, began to evolve in his role as an educator. Witnessing Imani's growth opened his eyes. He realized that brilliance doesn't always come in the loudest voices or the boldest personalities. Some students, like Imani, express their talent in quieter, more introspective ways. He started carving out time to listen more, to encourage his more reserved students, and to create space for them to speak without fear of being judged. He introduced small group discussions, where students could share ideas in a supportive, low-pressure environment. Slowly, the classroom transformed into a more welcoming, collaborative space. Through his shift in perspective, Mr. Delgado helped the class understand that talent comes in many forms. He reminded them often, every student has something special to offer, and it's a teacher's job not just to teach, but to awaken that potential. In becoming more than a teacher, becoming a true mentor, he changed the way his students saw themselves and each other. Imani's growth extended far beyond her own journey. She became more open, more empathetic, and more willing to support her classmates. Her quiet courage inspired others to believe in themselves. Together, she and Mr. Delgado helped reshape the culture of the classroom into one of encouragement, curiosity, and mutual respect. At Pacific Horizon High, the story of Imani Carter became a powerful reminder. A great school doesn't just pass on knowledge. It nurtures passion, builds confidence, and prepares young minds to rise no matter where they begin. In the weeks and months that followed, Imani continued to leave her mark, not just as a student, but as a young woman growing into her full potential. Her performance in the advanced chemistry program remained exceptional, and soon invitations to local and national science competitions began to arrive. The awards and accolades she received weren't just validations of her talent. They became stepping stones, each one building her confidence and belief in what she could achieve. Imani's confidence didn't stay confined to the classroom. It spread throughout the entire school community. In every class, she not only explained complex ideas with clarity, but also offered creative insights that enriched discussions. She became a source of inspiration, proof that brilliance doesn't have to be loud, and that every student has a unique way of shining. During labs and group projects, Imani naturally stepped into leadership roles, encouraging her peers to explore, question, and grow together. At home, Imani's family watched her transformation with deep pride. Her parents had always believed in her potential. They reminded her that knowledge was the key to every door, and she now held that key in her hands. Their support gave her strength through the uncertain early days and helped fuel her confidence as she stepped boldly into new challenges. Meanwhile, Mr. Delgado, who had always believed in her, watched with immense pride as Imani continued to blossom. He encouraged her to keep pushing boundaries, to take part in more advanced research projects, and to apply her knowledge in ways that could make a difference in the real world. He saw in her not just a gifted student, but a future scientist with the power to shape lives and uplift communities. Looking ahead, Imani's future gleamed with promise. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be setbacks, moments of doubt, and tough decisions. But Imani had already learned that every obstacle is a lesson, every failure a stepping stone. And armed with passion, resilience, and the belief of those who supported her, she was ready. The path to greatness was hers to follow, and as she moved forward, one step at a time, Imani Carter wasn't just chasing knowledge, she was becoming a beacon of it for the generations to come. The story of Imani Carter in this video is more than just a tale of a quiet girl finding her voice. It's a powerful, timely reminder of something deeply relevant in today's world. Every person holds unique value, and often, the greatest talents are found in the most unexpected places. In a noisy world where attention is often rewarded louder than substance, it's easy to overlook the quiet ones, the observers, the deep thinkers, the ones who don't clamor for the spotlight. Imani represents millions like her, those who watch, learn, and wait for their moment to rise when someone finally gives them the chance. The video's core message is clear. Don't judge someone by their silence, or by what's seen on the surface. Instead, create space for people to be heard. Offer encouragement. Listen with empathy. Sometimes, all it takes is one word of support, one act of belief, to change the entire course of a person's life. Imani's journey also speaks to those who've doubted themselves. It reminds us that being different is not a weakness, it's often a strength. In a world that demands intelligence, resilience, and adaptability, believing in yourself and stepping beyond your comfort zone is key to growth. Imani's story reminds us that talent needs opportunity to be seen. And when we live in a society that honors diversity, nurtures hidden gifts, and encourages people to rise on their own terms, that's when we truly move forward, not just as individuals, but as a community that believes in the quiet brilliance waiting to shine in everyone. If you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing to my channel. I've poured a lot of time, heart, and soul into creating emotional stories like this one, and your support truly means the world to me. Thank you for joining me on this journey.